Finally, I've had a good run in a poker tournament. Today, I make it all the way to the final table. And yes, all the money that I won, I've donated to charity. So if you want to see how much it is, let's get into it. This one, I'm sitting under the gun with pocket sevens and raised to 2.2 bigs. Nothing fancy, standard open. The small blind and the big blind calls, so we go three ways to a flop. And we get this nightmare of a flop. 3 hearts, overcards, and a whole bunch of danger. The small blind leads for nearly 5 bigs. Now, that's already a red flag. Leading into multiple players usually means strength. I should probably just fold here. I haven't got a heart. I haven't got a great hand. But I start thinking to myself, hey, I've got an overpair to the 2. That's something, right? So I make a call. Now, the turn's total brick. It's the 4 of diamonds. And guess what? The small blind fires again. 11 big blinds. At this point, what am I even beating? Flushes? No. Sets? No. Even random 10x hands have got me crushed. So, of course, I call again. Brilliant. The 10 of club pairs the boards, and now the small blind says, screw it, all in. At this point, it is so obvious I'm beat, but for some reason, I talk myself into it. Maybe he's got king jack with no heart. Maybe he's bluffing. Maybe I should just light my stack on fire. I call. He flips over king 10 for trip 10s. I flip over my 7s, and the poker gods laugh. So the cutoff opens here to 2 big blinds. The button calls, and I defend. Now, this is standard. Jack 9 suited's just too strong to fold, but it's probably not quite strong enough to 3-bet, so calling's fine. And then we get the flop. Bang, the flush draw, backdoor straight draw. I check, cutoff checks, and the button checks. Here's the thing, when both of them check, that's probably a sign that neither player's got a strong king X hand, so we move to the turn. All right, now we've got middle pair and a flush draw and a gut shot. This is where I probably should bet. A small bet gets value from worse hands like 8-8, 7s, or even 10x, but instead I check, and so does everyone else. And there it is, the 5 of clubs completing my flush. Now I've got the 3rd nuts. And here I probably messed up again. I bet 5 bigs, nearly 6, into a pot of 7.5. The button calls, and he flips over pocket 7s for a straight. I win the hand, which is great, but let's think about it. If the button is willing to call with a straight, I probably could have bet way more. I think I probably left money on the table, and in poker, leaving money on the table is almost as bad as losing it. So here we've got an open from middle position. The button calls, and then small blind goes all in for 28 big blinds. I'm sitting there thinking, wow, okay, let's be honest. I don't really know what I was thinking. The small blind's range for shoving 28 big blinds here is mostly pairs, 7s up, strong Broadway hands like ace, queen, king, queen, and some suited ace X. Now, we're not doing great against that range, but like I've said many times before, I'm not a very good player, so I make the call. Then the middle position player shoves over the top. Well, now I'm just hating life because at least one of these guys has definitely got me beaten, if not both of them. But after the call, I'm definitely pot committed, and I've got to put in those extra couple of big blinds. So we've got a 3-way all in. The cards are flipped, and I can see just how bad my call was. The small blind's got pocket jacks, and the middle position player's got pocket 10s. Now, you probably won't be surprised to hear that GTO says I probably should fold pre-flop. But it doesn't matter because, boom, in the window, I hit bottom set. At this point, I'm going from praying to win a flip to becoming the massive favourite. And now I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm actually a genius. Then the 6 hits and I've got a full house. I just need to dodge a 10 or a jack on the river and this pot is mine. What do you know, the river bricks and we drag in a 95 big blind pot. Pocket jacks and pocket 10s both lose and I win it all. So did I make the right play or did I get bailed out by the deck? I think I know what you're going to say, but let me know in the comments. Now, there's a lot to say about this one, really. Action folds to me and I open with an ace. The small blind who's on a short stack raises my call. This time I'm up against the Feeney fours, but the first card in the window pairs my line, and I win a few chips and another bounty. All right, like the last one, this next hand isn't crazy, but it's just a textbook example of short stack play. Should it make the cut in these sort of videos? I don't know. So I've got 22 big blinds in the cutoff with pocket eights. Middle position opens to 3 big blinds, and instead of just calling and playing post flop, I think I do what GTO would say was the right move, and I shove all in. At this stack depth, I think pocket eights is a pure jam. Calling just puts us in horrible spots post flop. Middle position thinks about it, and he makes a call and shows ace-9 offsuit. Okay, so far so good. Just got to win a flip. Still good. Just one more card, and bang, nice. We hold it. 42 big blind pickup. So I'm in the small blind with ace-5 offsuit. Instead of raising, I just complete and the big blind checks. Now, I think the actual play here should be to raise this hand. Why? Because by limping, I let the big blind see a free flop with all sorts of trash hands, and he could outdraw me. Flop comes down 2, 5, 10, and I've got middle pair, nut flush draw, and a backdoor straight draw. I check, and so does the big blind. Looking back, I probably should have bet small here. Maybe just the one big blind. Try and deny any equity from anything that's an insta fold, but I didn't. Now the 4 lands, and the big blind suddenly bets nearly a full pot size bet. Now, that's pretty big. At this point, I've got middle pair, a gut shot, and I'd beat a lot of bluffs, so I call. The river's the 8 of clubs, and now the big blind fires again. Again, nearly a full-size pot bet. So I've got a bit of a choice. Do I fold thinking he's hit a straight or he's got a 10? Well, I think the straight's unlikely. And I think the big blind bets a 10 on the flop because the board's scary for top pair with no heart. So do I call knowing that a lot of his draws have probably bricked? I end up calling. He shows 9-7 offsuit, total air, and I win another pot. All right, in bounty tournaments, you want to knock out short stacks and grab those sweet bounties, but sometimes it doesn't go quite as planned. I'm in the big blind here with ace-8 offsuit and the small blind shove for 7, nearly 8 big blinds. Since this is a bounty tournament, my instinct is to isolate him, shove over the top, and force under the gun out. But under the gun doesn't fold. Instead, they snap call. Cards are flipped, and the small blind has pocket queens, and under the gun shows up with pocket kings. Suddenly, I am in deep trouble. Flop comes 10-4-2. It's not helping me. Kings are way ahead. The turn is a king of diamonds, so he improves to trip kings. I'm drawing absolutely dead. The river's blank, and under the gun scoops the whole pot. My plan to isolate the short stack backfires hard. Was it a mistake or was it just bad timing? I did want to isolate the small blind for the bounty, but I don't know if I didn't consider it, but I didn't think under the gun's waking up with a monster there. I think a better play in hindsight would have been just to call, see what under the gun does. But this is the risk of bounty tournaments. Sometimes aggression pays off, other times you run headfirst into an absolute monster. Okay, here we are. This is it. The stone cold bubble of the tournament. One player busts and we're in the money. I'm in the small blind with ace king, and instead of raising, I just limp. Yeah, probably should raise here, but because it's the bubble, I don't want to get shoved on and have to make a horrible ICM decision. Nice flop though, top pair, top kicker with 2 diamonds. I bet small, and the big blind raises to 3 big blinds. Is he on a draw? Maybe he's got a weaker king. Maybe he's just bullying me because we're on the bubble. I'm going to call with my top. Now the queen hits and I pick up the nut flush draw. The big blind bets tiny, 1/4 pot. Now I'm even more confused. If he made a flush, wouldn't he bet bigger? I'm never not calling. I've still got top, and if he's out flop me somehow, I've still got a redraw to the nut flush. So I decide to call and see the river, and boom, I hit it. Now it's time to go for maximum value. I jam all in for 21 bigs, and the big blind goes deep into the tank. Yeah, I start thinking that I've massively overbet here and I should have gone smaller to guarantee a call. But eventually, yes, he makes the call. He flips over 8-6 for a hand that just got worse and worse for him as the action unfolded. He was obviously a huge unbeliever. Not that I'm complaining. And I scoop 56 big blind pot on the Stone Cold bubble. Okay, now this is one of those hands where potentially the bounties that were up for grabs might have clouded my judgment. So we are deep in the bounty tournament. And in this hand, turns out there's nearly $60 in bounties up for grabs, which is pretty big at this buying level. Under the gun, +1 shoves for just under 2 big blinds. Middle position shoves for under 6 big blinds. And the cut-off shoves for 11 big blinds. And I'm sitting here in the small blind with 10-6 offsuit. And I'm thinking, okay, $60. Let's go for it. I'm going to shove all in. I want to isolate. Can you isolate 3 players? I basically don't want the big blind feeling there's any value in there. So I want to get the big blind out of it. I shove. And what do you know? The big blind calls. He's only gone and got ace jack. Yep, that might have been a mistake. The flop comes 5-5-4, literally no help to me. Turn is a 2. I'm basically dead unless I can spike a 10 or a 6, and the river is a king. Ace jack wins the big side pot. Ace 4 scoops the main, and I lose it all. So I've got to look at this. Like, yes, the bounties make this an extremely tempting spot, but 10-6 offsuit is just too weak. You can't be doing it. Can't justify this play. If I had a pocket pair, suited connectors, maybe that makes more sense. Maybe I'm just unlucky that the big blind woke up with a hand and that makes me feel even worse. But I think even with those bounties up for grabs, it's a fold. What would you have guys done? Would you have gone for it, or is it just a total punt? Now I'm down to a tiny stack with 12 players remaining. Action folds round to me and I shove all in for 10 bigs with pocket 6s. No brainer, right? My bounty's too tempting to the big blind and he eventually calls with ace 5 off. Let's hold. Again, the card in the window is a perfect card and I flop a set. It's a long way back for the big blind from here. And the turn puts it beyond all doubt. You can't complain about getting quads. So now the player from the previous hand is now short, and here he decides to shove from under the gun for nearly 8 bigs. Action falls to me and I've got queen jack. Yeah, it's not a brilliant hand, but I think it's good enough to go bounty hunting with. It's better than 10-6 off, that's for sure. I shove to isolate the undergun player. Now this move has got to work once for me today, right? The big blind folds and we see we're up against Big Slick. Oh, I hit a jack on the flop, which catapults me into the lead. The turn gives me 2 pair. Need to dodge a 10 on the river, which I do. My hand holds. It's another bounty and some more chips. I'm back in this now, up to 4th place with just 11 players remaining. Okay. Hands up, I'll admit it. I think I completely butchered this hand, and the worst part is I realised it almost straight away. We've made it to the final table now, and I don't have a huge amount of chips. I'm sitting 6th of 8, and I get dealt the magical Feeny 4s in under the gun +1. Now, what should I do? Do I shove all in? Do I fold? Do I raise small? I go for a small raise, and I immediately regret it because the big stack in the small blind sees my weak raise and shoves all in for 48 bigs. Now I have just got to fold, right? With 14 bigs, it's either a shove or a fold. By raising small, I am inviting people to come and attack me with their big stacks. And if I'm not prepared to call their shoves, I shouldn't be in there in the first place. The ICM at a final table means I just can't afford to spew chips. And this play, pure spewage. Now, I'm not going to make that mistake again. So this time when I get pocket 8s under the gun, I just shove all in for my 10 big blind stack. Everyone folds and I pick up a couple of important chips. The very next hand, I look down at my least favourite hand, ace jack offsuit. Action folds all the way round to the cutoff, who is a clear chip leader. He's been playing really aggressively, as he probably should do with all those chips. And he shoves again. It folds to me, and there's only one thing that I can do here, right? even though I've had such bad luck with this hand in the past, I eventually do the right thing and I make the call. He shows 10-8 suited and I'm way in front. I hit top pair on the flop of ace, queen, 9, but in true poker fashion, there's always a sweat. He's got the gut shot and a backdoor flush. The turn doesn't ease my nerves at all because the 6 gives him a double belly buster. Got to avoid a 7 or a jack to stay in the game. It's the final table. Things are getting juicy. I'm sitting in the big blind with 22 bigs and pocket kings. Under the gun +1 limps, which is pretty weird at this stage, but hey, I've got pocket kings. I'm not worried. So I raise to 5 bigs. And then under the gun +1, he shoves all in for 29 bigs. Now, you might have heard me talk about it before. This is a pretty big red flag because limping and then shoving is usually a monster. Aces, kings, ace, king. Now I block ace, king and the kings pretty hard. So what does that leave us? Can I ever fold kings here? Absolutely not. No shot. I call and yet he flips over aces. The board comes 7, 8, 5, queen, 7. That's it. I bust out the tournament, running kings into aces. It's classic poker pain. Could I got away from that hand? No, I don't think so. Pre-flop raise is fine. Calling is shove. Yeah, you've got to. It's just one of those hands you can't fold. Sometimes you get collared and there's nothing you can do about it. What a way to go out. What a brutal way to go out. Could I get away from it? Nah. Not folding kings on the final table like that, even though he's done the limp, shove, rubbish. Oh, I hate it. But plus side, it is a profit. So that means I've got a donation. 2 bullets, so that's $27 profit. When I convert it to pounds, it's 20 odd quid, round it up, 25. You can see it here, it's gone in, but the total is ridiculously low. Need to get bigger wins and get some more money going in there, but it is creeping up ever so slowly. Maybe if there's anyone out there that wants to help me out, I said it before, if everyone watching just gives £1, then it could really help the cause. Young Lives versus Cancer could really make a difference. Put a link in the description below if you do want to help. If you can't, then just come back next time. Hopefully we'll have some more luck, get to another final table, go that little bit further and win a big one and really up that total. So thanks for being here. It was a great run. Wasn't quite what we wanted, but next time we got this.